Hello everyone, my name is Karen Briggs. I am a violin soloist and you are watching Elements of Jazz TV.
Elements of Jazz, your visual jazz experience.
Was a cultural lesson for me. There's so many different cultures there, just from all over the world. I mean, there's a representation, I think, of everybody in the world in New York City. In Manhattan, Aborigines I've even met in New York. This I particularly remember more once we moved to Inglewood, New Jersey, which is just a short trip from New York. And we'd have these parties at the house, and we'd have guests over, and they bring their congas and their maracas, and they bring their bongos, and they get in there and get to singing and jamming, and you know, these are just things that went on around the house like wallpaper, and I just took it for granted. And then I guess my parents wanted to raise us down south and move down there. I love Virginia because that is where I learned to play violin, and I took it up in the public school system when I went to junior high school there, and I had a phenomenal teacher by the name of Miss Geraldine Harding, who herself was a sax player who knew how to teach strings, and she had an orchestra, and she made the orchestra really hip. Actually, that wasn't my first choice. My first choice was home economics, because they recruited too, and what my appeal there was, wow, they're so organized. Oh, you can learn how to sew. Oh, cook too? Oh, that's really cool. So I wanted to do that, but when I told my mother, she was cooking at the time, and she looked down and said, choose something else. So my elective ended up being orchestra. And I took violin because it wasn't heavy or too large or bulky for me to carry. And that's how I ended up being a violinist. Here it is, 37 years later, I'm still doing Russian referred me to a couple of major situations in my career. It was Soul to Soul with Jazzy B, you know, Back to Life, Back to Reality. That was my very first major tour. I had always been a jazz musician. I'd always played gospel music, but that was like my first really major tour, and I was proud of that one because I liked the way they looked. I liked the hair, the haircuts, and how they dressed. They were so me, and they reminded me of my roots in New York. And I said, you know what, this is going to be fun. So we did a tour in Japan. That was my first time in Japan. And then we did all of the United States. And then we had a bus accident, unfortunately. So I stayed here, and they continued on in England after that. And their sound, I feel that it changed the sound of R&B as we know it during that time, and I don't think they've gotten the salsa and all the music that I played leading up to that, especially the salsa, because I have to say that's what gave me the ability and the coordination to dance and play violin at the same time. Because people don't realize this with saxophone or keyboards, that's normal. This is strange with a K. Patrice Russian also referred me to that gig. It was an audition I did at his house. She told me about it, and I went and did it. I'm not sure that he likes my playing at first because I have a different approach to violin than a lot of violinists, and he's from Greece. You know, he wasn't used to certain notes being bent or you know, just asserted a certain way, and it was just something that took him a minute. I think I almost didn't get the gig, and in fact, he didn't make me the soloist until I think the third year that I was there. And you know, he let me play some solos within the context of the gigs, but he never like focused on me like what happened later when we did the Acropolis. And when we did that, that was quite a memorable experience. I think everything that I've done in my entire 37-year history as a violinist, everyone seems to remember that gig. It was seen in 65 countries. It was you know, purchased in huge millions, by the millions people purchased that album and that video, and which is probably now a DVD. And I stayed with Yanni for 13 years. Thanks be to God, I was gifted to be able to hear notes, so I always know what a note is when I hear it, even like that car engine that which is that's the C sharp, D sharp, it keeps getting higher and this starts. I know that all the time, so violin was a good instrument for me because it has no frets, and so I get to use my ears just for that. Fortunately for me, it still has its novelty. There's not a whole lot of us. Not everybody really likes it in jazz, but there are a lot of people that do. And I think those of us who have been out within the last 20 years, I think I would consider a whole lot of us innovators, because having sat in a symphony myself for a while, the idea of playing violin outside of the context of, say, country or classical music really is, a lot of people have been very close to it. And I find that today, you know, it's opened up a lot. I mean, even since the first time I've played hip hop and improvised in that context and in that particular genre, you know, now there's more violinists that are out here doing hip hop. The first recording I know of was the one I did with Wu-Tang, and that had to be about 15 years ago when I did that one. It's called Reunited, and now there's several. Soulcastro Groove, that's soul plus orchestral, and this guy Groove, and he has original material on it. It was produced with Andre Manga, who's from Cameroon, so you'll hear some African sounds in there as well. There's gospel music on there. There's music that a Yanni audience would appreciate, and there's some songs that kind of have an R&B flair that I've written myself, including the title song. I have some phenomenal musicianship on the CD, and it took me 4 years to finish it, but it is an independent project that I usually sell at my gigs. I just kind of brought in a band that I've been playing with all the time. Brandon Coleman is one of them who plays with Babyface now. Cedric Anderson, who's worked with Shaka Khan. Andre Manga did the recording of it and also played on. He's a phenomenal bass player. Who else was on it? I had like 3 different bass players, and I can't name every one of the personnel on there, but they were all phenomenal musicians who I had come to know over the years. And no particular special guest, you know, everybody's kind of grown in their own individual reputations on their own as side musicians and features. And at the time we did this, you know, we were just some musicians that like to hang out together musically. And I thought everyone did a fantastic job on this project. Frank McComb, he contributed an arrangement, I knew that. And it was just such an informal thing. I mean, we didn't even think of it like, okay, we're going to do this project. And it was just we like playing together. That's what it felt like. That was good. That was great about it. To tell my fans that for those of you who have a dream or something that you would like to pursue, I suggest you just go and do it, give it a shot, and don't let life go by and not take a chance on it. And if you would like to get in contact with me and talk about those dreams or anything else you'd like to talk about, get in contact with me on Facebook, please, because I'm on there and I do answer. I have about 3 pages because I couldn't hold the first, 5,000 is the limit. So I created another one, and you'll see me on Facebook under Cameron Briggs, and just give me a chance.